As man continues his conquest of the unknown, daring underwater adventurers challenge the world's most treacherous waters to find the only living link with the beginning of time. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Hey everyone, Adam Doherty here with another toy review. This time it is the Creature from the Black Lagoon NECA Ultimate Action Figure. If some of you don't know, the reason why we're called KreatureKid is my childhood love of the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I've been collecting toys and props and posters and masks ever since I can remember. And obviously it's just been a huge influence in my life and my career. It's the reason why I make monsters for movies, is because my love of that creature in that movie. So to finally have a figure out that seems to be the most accurate Creature from the Black Lagoon figure you can imagine, I'm just super excited. Now, I've been following the NECA Universal toy line for a long time. I've gotten all the Universal monsters so far. Every time I'm just blown away by the sculptures and the accuracies and the accessories that they come with. And I really love what they're doing with this toy line. And there's quite a few creature figures out there that I've been really excited for as a creature fan. That seems to be like, this is the ultimate creature figure. This is the most accurate, or this is the most posable, or whatever. And I'm always disappointed. I've sculpted the creature probably more times than most people. I've done model kits and full-size busts. I've done versions of the Revenge of the Creature, the underwater creature, the land creature, every creature there is, traditionally, digitally. So you can imagine I like to think I have the suit memorized, or at least versions of the suit. When I saw the photos, I was pretty excited about this one. And we'll talk more about the sculpture. This is kind of just my first review of the figure as a figure. This figure was digitally sculpted. It is a ZBrush sculpt. When all other previous NECA Universal toys have been traditionally sculpted, oversized sculpted. I believe Trevor Grove is the sculptor who did all the portraits for all of the Universal figures so far. Let's start unboxing this thing and see what it looks like. So right out of the gate, the box is simple. It's just like all the other NECA Universal lines. It's the original movie poster. There's a cool sheen on just some of the lettering and the creature himself on this one, which is really cool. Then, of course, photos of the figure on the front, the side, the back and the sides. And there he is. The NECA Ultimate Creature Figure. Before we open this figure up, I just want to talk about what creature this is. So, obviously, this is the Creature from the Black Lagoon first movie from 1954. So the creature was done by Universal's makeup department, which was run by Bud Westmore. So Westmore was essentially the owner of the creature shop. To kind of give a comparison to practical effects creature shop, what we do here at KreatureKid. So Bud Westmore was the head of the creature shop. Now, Westmore worked with Millicent Patrick, who was the designer of the creature. She was the concept artist of the creature. So she helped with the evolution. This creature figure is a representation of the land creature figure. When they were making the creature, there were two creature suits. So Ben Chapman portrayed the creature in all the land scenes that they filmed in California. He was a big guy. They built the creature suit to him. And then the underwater scenes were shot in Florida, and the underwater creature, all the scenes where he's swimming underwater and stuff, was portrayed by Rico Browning, who was a swimmer and a stunt guy, but quite a bit smaller. Like, he was too small to play the creature out of water. He would have been a little guy. So the heads of the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and hands and feet, were sculpted by Chris Mueller Jr. But this figure is the land Creature from the Black Lagoon, portrayed by Ben Chapman. That's this suit. Things that give it away are the eyes. The land suit always had eyes. The underwater suit didn't have eyes because Rico Browning needed to see underwater. Subtle differences, like in the chest plates here, you'll see there's two rows below the bib of the mask where there's three sections each. On Rico's suit, they lost the middle section of both of those and closed them in. You know, obviously it's two separate sculpts of the heads. You know, the land creature kind of has a very distinct, almost a grin in his lips. The underwater creature has a very big frown. The eye shapes, the eyebrow shapes. There's subtle differences of the shape of the top of this belly is a dead giveaway that this is the suit used in the publicity photos and not the suit used in the movie. the fact that NECA and the Sculptor were paying that much attention to accuracies in this already got me really excited to see this figure in person. Another interesting thing I was really excited for is this is the first Creature from the Black Lagoon figure that is actually painted to be movie accurate. And there he is, the NECA Ultimate Creature from the Black Lagoon figure. So they have this little plastic covering for both sides of hands and feet, or hands and heads. Oh, already. Oh, that drives me nuts. Look at that. Ugh. That's just a production thing. I wonder if they're all like that. Oof, look at that big old weird bumpy seam line. It distorts this whole profile. Makes it look like he has a giant forehead. Now that one looks good. See, it's a little bump, but it's subtle. But at least it looks natural with his mouth open. And there we have the inner mouth. If none of you knew during the movie, that's just Ben Chapman's mouth. That's like his lips and his cheek and his tongue, just hugging the inside of the mask. So cool. Hands. Weird, extremely dynamic hands with a bent fingernail there. Maybe I'll heat that up with a hairdryer and see if I can kind of work it back down. I mean, it's got there's these little suction cup thingies all over his palms. These big little cylinder, weird dotted things on this part of his finger. And then let's pop him out. And here he is. So again, you gotta be really careful. These NECA toys tend to sometimes stick and then these joints just break. Sometimes I heat them up under the sink to just kind of loosen them up. But I think I'm just trying to jump into this guy. I was too excited. Ooh, that's a stiff boy. Ooh, oh, I don't know. It's making me nervous. All right, I'm not gonna go crazy. It's making me too nervous. But wow, I mean, that really is a beautiful figure. Look at that. I mean, yeah, these two heads are perfect. Look at that. Oof. And he's perfect too. Look at that. Yeah, those are great. Look at the difference of that seam line. Oh, look at this. Look, he's like getting a unicorn horn or something. The creature's such a difficult toy to make because there's so many sections, and they never rotate, right? Like, it's so tricky to make a jointed creature figure, and it looks like this is all rubbery. He's like wearing like a rubbery jumpsuit, so you can kind of see these rubber plates. Like he's wearing little rubber underpants with just a dark green body underneath there. Everything's double jointed, so there's like a joint here and a joint there with like a little cap and his elbow. Joint here. See? And then like a little elbow cap. Definitely the best Creature from the Black Lagoon executed figure there's ever been. Let's try switching his heads. Ooh, that's fun. Look, he's got like a little double chin neck. Can you see that? That's cool. To the open mouth. Ooh, I'm squeezing it. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, that head's great. That's great. Look, you got the gill flare, right? So that makes more sense. Come here. There we go. For our clawed hands, obviously. That's a really beautiful figure. Interesting, they kind of squished this fin back here. That's kind of weird. I wonder why they did that. Ah, look at that coloring. The coloring is just awesome. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This is just my first kind of reactions. We'll talk more about this figure with the Sculptor. And kind of figure out, going about sculpting a toy for NECA and sculpting a character this complex digitally, and kind of the steps it takes to get to this as a final result. All right, can you introduce yourself to the people watching?
I'm Maarten Verhoeven. I'm a digital freelance sculptor, and I work in a lot of different industries, ranging from toys, collectibles to fine art, restoration of, let's say, older projects, and so on. So if they need a 3D sculptor, they hire me to help them out.
That is awesome. And we're talking to you today because you did the new NECA Creature from the Black Lagoon, which
apparently
is incredible.
Thanks.
I already did the unboxing video earlier, and I've been mulling over the figure for about a week now. And it really is. It's the greatest creature action figure out there. You did it.
Well, it took some time to get it right.
How long have you been a sculptor?
I've been, let's say, a freelance digital sculptor for 13 years now.
13 years. And did you start traditional, or are you strictly a digital sculptor?
My let's say my origins are with art education and an animation film, and like I was in a post-production company, missing all the creative things, you know, like drawing and stuff, and then I actually picked up ZBrush and started sculpting. So
interesting. So you went to school to learn like sculpture work and stuff like that?
It was more drawing and painting, and sculpting was also there, but it was, let's say, only, let's say, a very small section of the whole thing. Yeah.
So ZBrush you kind of just taught yourself?
Yep.
That's awesome. I taught myself too. I'm still learning new things about that stupid program. It's so complicated.
Well, I always tell people, you only need to learn 4 or 5 brushes and you're good to go, you know.
How did you get involved with NECA? How long have you been sculpting for them?
I think I'm sculpting for them now 3 years or something, 3.5
3 years. What are some of the other figures you've done for them?
Well, this is actually my first full figure that I did for them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I helped them out with a lot of accessories and extra objects that they needed for the figures. My art director, he asked me hey, do you want to do this guy? I was like, awesome. Yeah, cool. So
that's so cool. So when you got that job, are you a Creature fan, or was it just something you wanted to just try to tackle?
To be honest, my origins are with, say, all the 80s movies. That's where everything came from with me. And by growing up, I also discovered the old school monsters, the old Universal stuff, and that's close to my heart, you know. I'm also a KreatureKid, and having the opportunity to touch these things, it's awesome, you know.
That's amazing. My love of the creature goes back farther than I can remember. As far as I can remember, I was always collecting just creature. I have a theory. It started with Monster Squad, my brother watching Monster Squad, and I gravitated towards him, and then it just turned into the big 90s wave of there's a huge 90s wave of Universal Monster stuff, from Burger King toys to the Sideshow toys, where and he was just the one I always just gravitated towards. When you got the job for NECA, did you start just diving into research of the character and the suit variations and all that stuff?
Yeah, in the beginning, they gave me a lot of let's say, screen grabs, high resolution from the Blu-ray, and that kind of started the whole thing up. But then what I also do is I always go online and see what's left of the suit, you know, if there's something from these era or even prototypes. And then, I also discovered okay, there's so many different suits that have been used to show something, and they have the reference, and then I'm pointing out, but on this suit it's like this. We have to make certain choices to see what ends up eventually. But let's say my art director, he was pretty precise on which things that he wanted to tweak and adjust, and for him the most important thing in the end was getting all the feeling of the scales and everything in there, you know, all the different platings and all the proportions right, and especially how the scales feel. They have let's say, a certain look. It isn't just a bump, you know. It's something more. It's flat and squeezed out and.
Well, you nailed it. I mean, that was one of the first things I talked about in the review when I first looked at this, is that you chose the publicity still suit because of certain ways you tackled the top of the stomach, right? That's different in 2 different suits. Did you have to tackle sectioning for poseability and stuff digitally?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I start with the sculpt. That's the first thing that needs to improve. But the thing, like in the back of my head, I already figured out. Okay, they want to have double jointed elbows and stuff like that. So I'm also taking that in consideration while designing it, and then like I put all the joints in there, and I give it as a reference because they pick it up on their side, and they might do some extra tooling on it to make stuff work. But let's say what I gave them, that's the blueprint how everything should go and fit together.
Now, do you 3D print any of these on your end to see what they look like physically?
No.
Wow, so you never see this figure physically. You're only digital, and then you email it to them.
Yeah, I give it to them digitally, and they do the prototyping. And if there's adjustments, they also come back to me if it's necessary.
I see that there's even just the injected plastic on the head is a 3-piece mold. There's a seam line going around and a seam line right through the top, which I thought was really fascinating. How they built the figure, I mean, there's rubber sections and there's hard plastic sections, and there's even a section here that's a little rubber piece that's glued on to the 2 hard pieces. It's really incredible what they did with this figure.
Yeah,
did you know there was going to be like, this will be flexible and this won't be?
Yeah, that was discussed in the brief, because like once the sculpting was done, they also told me they had an armature inside, and that there will be like sleeves going over the armature that were the chest pieces.
So how long did this when you got the job to sending them the final file after the edits, how long did that end up taking you?
It was pretty long. But the whole turnaround from the beginning until the end, it was at least 10 months or something, you know?
I was like, it had to be at least 6. I was like, there's no way I couldn't even figure this out in 6 months.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, you send up the files, then you wait for feedback, then they have then they have to check it also with the license holder and everything. So it's for all the collectibles and toys with every company. Like most of the time, the thing that takes up the most time is quite often sending it to the client, or let's say the license holder, and they giving the final approval on projects.
When you get notes, are they coming from like Universal's licensing department, or is it through the art director and he's conveying the notes to you?
Most of the time it's from the art director, and once he says like, okay, it's good, then he decides that it goes further to Universal. But my art director that I worked on with this project, he was like super precise, and he said like, okay, this, we need to tweak this, we need to refine this. And sometimes you're scratching your head and you think like, do I have to do some scales again, you know? Like, but it pays off now in the end. I mean, like, it's a super nice product and everything. So.
Oh, it's incredible. And what I love about this, and I'm very harsh on my creatures. I've sculpted them quite a few times. And I've also been recently comparing them. So I have here the Mondo 12-inch creature and also the Jada Toys creatures. So those so far are the only other 2 digitally sculpted creature figures we've ever got. And even on the Mondo, I noticed that symmetry was never turned off. He's perfectly symmetrical.
Great. Yeah.
And that was one thing I loved about your sculpture is he is asymmetrical. He's exactly how he's supposed to be. How far did you take him before turning off symmetry and making the differences?
I would say I sculpted him symmetrical 60% or something, just to get all the proportions in there. And once we started in towards detailing, but also, let's say, the panel lining between all the different sections of everything.
Do you use like texture stamps, or are you sitting there?
Both. Like I used a very small texture stamp with a certain amount of scales. It wasn't like a big thing, and then like I stamped it in, and then manually like I sculpted in the extra scales to match it up and to make it more organically. Like even the stamps that I used, like I still went in manually to tweak them all a tiny bit.
That's incredible, man. I've just finished for X Plus the Revenge of the Creature model kit, and that was my first time doing a creature from full body from start to finish digitally, and it was a nightmare. Are you yourself, I mean, I see you have a collection of toys. Are you like a NECA toy collector?
No. Like, well, the thing's like I have a lot of 1/6 scale figures, but it's ranging from all different brands, but also custom figures. And if I feel I like, I did the McCready one from The Thing, because like it wasn't on the market, so I was like, okay, I make it myself because I can sculpt.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
and things like that. But I collect all kinds of weird stuff around me that inspire me.
Yeah, but this one was more than I was even thinking they would be capable of. I mean, every time a new creature toy comes out, they're always like, "This is the best one. This is the most accurate." And then I get it, and I'm like, "But they're still sticking with like the color guide that Universal sets, where he's like a weird lime green color, or it's never right." But this is the fact that you get a toy where you could get the movie poses, just like in the movie stills, and still have an accurate sculpt, and the sectioning is hardly noticeable. Usually the sectioning's like ridiculously big and bulky and doesn't quite move right. The only other comparison I was showing was the Diamond Select figure scale wise and sectioning wise. But even this guy is just stiff. This one was traditionally sculpted and you could see it, right? I think the creature at any smaller scale has to be approached digitally because it's so elaborate.
Yeah, I think so too for the details. Like NECA, they work two ways still. Like they also work with Trevor Grove, I think, for the head sculpts most of the times.
Yeah, Trevor doing a lot of the Universal head sculpts. And I still can't quite figure out. He seems to sculpt them at a large scale, and then they shrink them somehow. Digitally scan them?
That's what I figured out also by watching pictures, because like I don't
Yeah.
know him, and things like I'm working from the outside towards NECA the whole time. And I was also like looking at those sculpts in his hand. I was also scratching my head like there's something happening, like you're not.
Yeah, they're
sculpting
like
this-
quarter scale he's sculpting or something. And then
Yeah.
they must scan it and shrink it, or a molding process. I'm not quite sure. It's really
Yeah.
interesting. The box. Yeah, you haven't seen the box. The box is beautiful with lots of photos of your figure inside and stuff. And it credits you on the bottom, which I just love what NECA does anyways, is crediting the sculptors and
but
the painters.
that's the thing that I like, because I had done also stuff for Hasbro in the past and Gentle Giant and other companies. And being able to work for the guys in NECA, like it's super cool to get your name on the box, Like,
yeah, it seems like they really treat the artists well. They really appreciate the artists that spend the time on it.
But the fun thing on working on such pieces is it's a team thing, Like you work with there's another sculptor involved. You work with the art director. You work with the painter. Like everybody gets together to produce this piece, and that's also the fun thing in the end.
For the hand poses, were you the one choosing how to pose all the hands? Because he does come with 4 sets of hands.
No, so they told me like, okay, we need 4 different types of hands, and they suggested to certain stills like, okay, he's holding hand.
Oh, okay.
That's how I picked it up, and
that's
they,
like you have the hand
say-
fully sculpted like this, and then you pose it and tweak the details a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing with this hand, especially like because when it's straight and when it's like bent, like all the suction cups and everything, like they had like I had to go in manually and like tweak every little thing. And it took up some like those hands were, let's say, my biggest headache while I was sculpting this thing, like when they were posed up. I was thinking like, because you want to have everything there's still in there, but it's like all collapsed a tiny bit or it's distorted.
Are you lined up to do any more Universal figures for them, or do you have any cool projects coming up?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's an incredible figure, and you did an amazing job, man. I mean, it took me a little bit to like warm up to it and play with it, and then I was just realizing every night I'm sitting there like playing with it in bed, and I'm like, it's like being a 13-year-old again. It's the figure a creature fan like myself has always wanted, and we've never been able to get because it's the most complicated Universal monster out of all of them, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for putting as much time as you did into this figure. It shows.
It was an honor to work for them on that license, to be honest. Like when they asked me, like I was, because I know like a lot of creature guys really want to tackle that thing and want to work on a creature piece, and I was like, I feel so lucky to have the possibility to even play with it.
Yeah, I follow like every sculptor. I mean, obviously I've owned almost every creature toy out there, and I've never seen someone nail the creature. There's always something off. I never quite. It's funny how such a strange looking monster can be as difficult as a portrait of an actor, and the paint job finally having an accurate, red lipped with the blue eyes creature. With the weird like copper gold highlights that they had that are just the coolest thing ever. It's extremely beautiful work, and I'm now your number one fan. I love your work, but man, I wish you would do more creatures. Is this your first time doing any creature sculpt?
Like that, yeah. Like from that one.
Man.
I would also want to say like a lot of credit goes to the art director because like he was like at point with everything. Like he's also on the box normally.
Randy Falk, yeah. Direction and development is what the credit is on here. Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time. Congratulations on the figure. I can't wait for you to get your hands on this thing. It's beautiful. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the discussion of the new NECA Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's now available in stores, so please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.